Well, hello to just Robin, I guess, right now. But this is an impromptu live stream, middle of the day. We're coming up on Kings of Memphis at the end of the weekend, and thought it'd be fun to give a little snapshot on, what are we doing with the event? How's the scoring work? And with a little extra time, go into some of the lists that we've got. So maybe as a little bit of background, Kings of Memphis 3. We do need a new name. It's KOM. It's not real original, so definitely need to be thinking it. We've been using subtitles though, or like a sub name. So this year we're Revenge of the Bard. So we did a little little poster that had homages to Revenge of the Jedi, right? And we had Ronnie in his Bard costume on the poster. Pretty funny stuff. But the history of Kings of Memphis is we wanted to run, or I wanted to run a more competitive tournament, a tournament where it's really more about what's on the table than the hobby stuff. I previously had run the Blue City Brawl doubles event for a few years, and that was the exact opposite. That was a pageantry to the hobby and to sportsmanship and all of those things. So I wanted something a little bit different, and so let me add Jeremy to the stream. So yeah, that's why I started Kings of Memphis. I wanted something that was more, more battle focused, more about what you do on the table. So, and I've always been a big proponent of that. We should have tournaments out there that cater to different people, right? So there's, it's like a buffet, and there's something available for everybody. But how are we doing today, Mr. Jeremy?
Hey,
Paul?
what's up? How's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. I'm living the dream. I was just
fantastic.
I was just telling our 4 people watching where Kings of Memphis came from.
Oh,
nice. It's a more competitive tournament. And what's interesting is this year we have a pretty good selection of folks. I would say we got a lot of casual. We have some casual players. We have some mid-table stompers like myself that I'm not playing, but I'm that ilk. But then on the top level, I mean, we got Nathan Clevenger, Travis Tim. Oh, and speaking of one of our fans here, Daniel Bryan is on his way down from Michigan. He's the gentleman that lives across the street from my mom. Him and his cohorts are coming down. Really excited about
taking a break from professional wrestling.
Correct. But I'm really excited that my mom gave him some pickle bologna. He is bringing pickle bologna down for me. So my daughter is very excited about this. But yeah, hopefully, checking in at Bowling Green. Hopefully you guys are making reasonable progress. Hope if they get here in time, we will be going out to dinner tonight. So, but yeah, so it's a wide swath. And where I think we're left off is at the top. We've got some pretty great players, right? We got Nathan Clevenger, Keith Randall, Jeff O'Neill. Those are the classic Southeast stompers. And then Travis Tim, you put in the mix, Kyle Poole. I mean, it's going to be fun, right? One of the things that was interesting is there was a confluence of, we set this date a long time ago, Jeremy, but do you know what else is happening this weekend?
Isn't it Origins?
No.
Okay.
Or
was Origins last weekend?
Think about 40K for a minute.
Okay, well they just had the Atlantic City Open.
Well, what I was referring to is that their 10th edition drops tomorrow.
Oh yeah, of course.
So our store is gonna be crazy busy. They purchased 150 starter boxes.
The Leviathan box? That's crazy.
150 Leviathan box. So I was up there yesterday, and I'm like, Mike, I don't know what the heck. He's got most of them sold already. Shout out to to anybody listening. War Room Hobbies they have boxes, and I think they're charging $215, $210.
And whatever you want to say about GW, those starter boxes are always good value.
They are. They have the expensive hardcover rule book. They've got a Tyranid army, and then they have a Space Marine army.
If you want those minis, that's a good value.
Exactly. But yeah, But do you know how much space 150 starter boxes take up?
I don't know. Where are they, in the bathroom? Is in his closet? He's got some in his car.
It's all over the store right now. So so unfortunately, we didn't know when we set this event up that we were going to be running into this, right? And so what we're going to have to do, or what they are doing, is they're going to have a release party tomorrow night. And they'll come play 10th edition. And then at midnight, Saturday morning, come get your box. Because obviously we have a big crowd coming in to play Kings of War this weekend, and space is going to be limited. So I say all that to say that in the past, we would normally hold, 40 players, at the store. But we made the tough decision to say, look, we're going to cap it at 32. And unfortunately, we had a few people had some issues personally and had to drop. And so we're right now at 28 players. But, I'm happy with 28. It's a good number. So,
I mean, you're expecting, right? Usually with any event, you have 4 to 7 people who drop, usually somewhere around there.
Yeah. Here's the unfortunate thing. Sometimes it's the same people that drop every year. So I think next year, what I'll probably do is I'll probably open up by invite the people that have been showing up to give them first crack. Because unfortunately, because we knew we had a limited amount of spots, I couldn't sell 40 tickets, right? Like I had to kind of keep it within reason because I don't have the space this year. So unfortunately, I'm sure there's people out there that wanted to come that, well, the problem for Keith isn't the size. It's the quality of the player that's showing up. Now, to be fair, Keith's got to show up even if there's only 10 people because he's the champ. If you have the belt, you got to come and take, you got to make someone take the belt from you. You don't want to be like one of those boxers that vanquish, you just basically don't fight and then they just take the belt away from you. You don't want that. You definitely don't want that.
And speaking from someone who had to drop from going to Masters this year, there is real life reasons that come up sometimes,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Where you do.
We're playing games.
Drop. But there are, like you said, there are the people who sign up for every tournament, and you're like, oh yeah, that person's not going to. That person's not going.
Yeah. So what I figured, we're going to have a hard stop at 3:00. Jeremy's got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. Well, that's true, Keith. So we do have guitar trophies, right? So Mike Horner prints these and we were the first event in Memphis to have them. They're really cool. They're like it's a little Gibson guitar that he paints red with black. It's really a nice trophy. Yeah.
I'm putting a bounty. If someone will send me a picture after beating Keith Randall and Keith is crying at the end of the game, send me that picture bounty and I will send you something. You will get a prize. You will get a box of miniatures. I don't care what it is.
Well, if you're beating Keith Randall, you might be winning the tournament.
Okay. Well, I don't even care if you win. You're getting something from me. So, but I need photographic pics or it didn't happen. And what I'm going to do with the pics or what amount of clothes I'm going to wear or not wear, that's beside the point. I'm just saying, send me pics of his sadness. And
oh my gosh, it's funny. Like I said, we've got some pretty great players coming. Just the format for the weekend, and I should mention, I did put in the chat this link, and this is the link. We're using tabletopscore.com to do our software, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially, you can use this link to go. Let me pop this on the screen here. It looks like this. This will be what you get, and then it'll show the rankings, and it'll show round by round results once it gets populated and we get started. So I highly recommend if you're curious about how things are coming along. That's a great place to check in. Now, Tabletop Score is a software program that Tim Lonis in Omaha, Nebraska has created. And what I will say is it's very, very versatile in the sense, very flexible. You could do anything you want. And in fact, I've created a whole new scoring system that's very different than anything else out there. And, with a little bit of effort, you can pretty much plug it into the system and teach it what you want to do. And it just automates the whole process. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm very glad that Tim, by the way, Keith did not appreciate your bounty. And then Tim likes guitars. Too bad Travis chokes in the last round. So I'm just saying, maybe that's behind him now that Adepticon, he was a big winner. But he's playing Riftforge Orcs this year. So what's up with that?
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I did play Adam. I know Adam Ballard was workshopping a Rift Forge orc list with a lot of individuals with Host Shadow Beast. So I'm curious to see if Travis has rifted off of that list. So I'm curious to see what his
list is. Just a reminder, how many Host Shadow Beasts can you take in an army?
Isn't it not a one?
It's one. Yeah. It's a library spell. So 1.
Oh, interesting. I thought that it was not.
No, we actually had somebody submit a list with 2, and I actually tried to replicate it because somebody looked at it and said, "Hey, I think
here. Oh, Shadow Beast."
And I tried to replicate it in Companion, and it
didn't let you do it.
Yeah. So to be fair, Travis choked against Nathan, and then Nathan chokes against Keith. So great times. Yeah. So as somebody pointed out, Facebook user might be Adam.
Now, is that an update? Sure. Is the Host Shadow Beast is only one in an army? Is that a change? Because that's different from what it was.
I don't think so. I think it's all the library spells
in the red. Well, in the red book, it doesn't have the one only like the other one only spells. I think Host Shadow Beast you can have multiple times.
Well, if you try it in Companion, it will. Yeah. If you try it in Companion, it will tell you no.
Oh, it won't let you take it.
It's a library spell. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because in the rule book, it has like.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a good point. RFO, there are other instances of it, right? Like this. Yeah, it's Adam, by the way. There are armies that can take more than one, which is where you're probably coming from.
Okay, exactly. Yeah.
Then Billy pointed out. We're talking about. We had an Abyssal Force of the Abyss army that had 2.
Got it.
But
okay.
Somehow
some way
he was able to get it in the system. Well, either way, he fixed it. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, then good. Then Adam wasn't cheating when we were playing. So
no, doesn't cheat. He doesn't need to cheat.
Well, that's what happens when you play the best armies in the game. You know, you don't need. I'm just kidding.
That's true. So I figured, since we are going to be very tight on time, I figure I brought up some lists, and I figured we could just jump in and this is just the way they came up, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up. We're just going to go through them, and we start with Jeff O'Neill.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. I did point out, though, Travis chose not to bring goblins. This could have been the event where we could have settled who is the true Goblin King. Because you've got Kyle Poole, you've got Jeff O'Neill, and you have Travis. So we could have had
that would
a real goblin face-off.
If all of them were goblins.
Yeah, but Travis punked out. So, you know. Well, that's true, too. That is true too. But to be fair to the person with the double Host Shadow Beast, he also gave me a list that was 2150. So I think he inadvertently sent me the wrong list. So all has been corrected. Oh, Kyle is the Goblin Pretender. This has got to be Adam again because you know.
Well, Kyle definitely is the hipster Goblin. You know, his lists do tend to be a little bit more bespoke.
They're not like Jeff's. Yeah. Well, let's get in and let's just share. This is what Jeff O'Neill is rocking at. And I do want to mention the one list. This is breaking news. The one list that was making everybody vomit in their mouth. Well, that player had to drop. So that list will not be here. So that'll be so Keith is like, letting the waves flow over him. So Scorchwing Hordes will be there, but only 2 of them will be there. So not 10 or whatever it was. So we'll start with goblins. So I mean it's typical Jeff, right? 6 hordes of Ramble. He must have had 5 cheeky extra bonus points. Okay. Stern words for somebody not coming to the event, but okay. So we got our stock standard 6 hordes of Rabble. You have your required 3 big rock throwers. You have what I find interesting is because I should have mentioned it at the top. This event is 2,010 points, not 2,100, 2,010. So it definitely made everybody do some different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fair. And then we've got Travis chiming in. So, I think this is one of the things. Like, I don't recall Jeff bringing sharp stick throwers, but they're, I guess, 5 points less than the trombone, right? So, I mean, they're cheaper than the trombone. So maybe that's the discount. But yeah, so he's got 3 sharp stick throwers. He's got 3 wingets. And then he's got Grony Snark, 2 Bangets, 3 Spellcasters, 1 with Alchemist Curse and Lightning Bolts. And it comes in 21 units, 21 unit strength. And yeah. What's interesting is he only has the 1 source of inspiring, but I guess he's just figuring the stuff that,
doesn't care.
I mean, yeah, this stuff is either like low nerve and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter you have inspiring, or it's such big enough nerve that if you get it up there, it doesn't really matter anyways.
Yeah, and it's sort of meant to die, right? And if it it passing a nerve check, like, does it really make that much of a difference? You know what I mean? It's
so you're the expert here. What are you in the audience?
I mean, this is kind of like this is the list that he's somewhat known for, right? Like, to me, this feels like it. Back to the Future, it's an oldie but a goodie. This list still works. Like, how many additions and updates has this list worked through?
Well, what's interesting is because he's short on points, I think that's probably why he went with the sharp stick throwers rather than the trombones. And if you notice, the spellcasters aren't mounted.
Yeah. So there's some quality of life things that you would have if this list was 2,300, right? That you're like, you got to lose points somewhere. And
I got a story though that I need to tell you guys.
Yeah. Like yesterday, he said, this list has always been good.
Yeah, it has been. So yesterday, real quick, I had a conversation with Mike Horner, the owner of our store, and I was like, we were just talking, and I was like, I used to use Table War, and I said, man, I had a Table War case fall over once. Now you guys sell Battle Foam. I use Battle Foam. Believe it or not, you know what happened yesterday? I totally jinxed myself. The big Battle Foam case went like this in my wife's van. So I had to I had Adepticon flashbacks. I'm gluing models together. Anyways. So, okay. Keith points out. See, I don't get to play Jeff very much. So, but Keith is his normal sparring partner, so he never mounts him. I could have swore back in the day at TNT he had some mounted ones, but you're probably right. He's probably moved on. Sharp Strix have Lobber to get elite from Eye of the Sky too. Interesting. I did not know that. But he doesn't have Eye in the Sky, does he? Or I thought he had. Oh, he has Bombs Away, right? Yes, he does. Where did it go? Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, okay. He does have Eye in the Sky. Interesting. So you've got a lead on that. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, you're selling me on these guys because I'm a big fan of the Sharp Sticks. I think given the changes to cover, because you hit on 4s, I mean, okay, I hit on 5s now. I mean, I know it's a little less piercing, right? But it's still good. And God help you if you're like a defense 4 unit not in cover. It's like,
and I mean, and it's still fitting the same thing, right? Which is I'm going to throw all my cheap stuff in front of you and sit on objectives. And then I'm going to shoot all the stuff of you that has any high volume of attacks and then win the scenario at the end of the game because I've killed everything of yours that can score or you can't efficiently deal with my meat wall.
Yeah.
And Jeff's played this list. We always talk about this, right? There's something to be said about familiarity and like repetition with playing a list, and this is his bread and butter. So
yeah, and Keith brings up a good point. The Mop-Up launchers have no piercing, so this is piercing too. And regular Mop-Ups with the crushing strength 1, this. I mean, I like the sharp stick throwers, and I guess I never connected the fact that it's got Lobber. So that's interesting. So maybe my wingets will have to start fielding the Bombs Away. Mm-hmm. So I also should point out, those of you drinking right now, pour one out. We're not going to have the river table there this year. I decided that, the Elven Laments from last year, so different tables this year.
Yeah, that's it. That's Keith brings up a good point. Is this type of list, it presents good options, right? So there isn't a great way because if you try to take rid of his scoring units, all his shooty stuff is going to kill you. Try to take rid of the shooty stuff. Yeah. He has how much unit strength just sitting big blocks of getting your way unit strength.
Yeah.
Solid list.
Well, yeah, your Dracon's fly. That's true. And we do have some Sylvankin players showing up. You picked it because it's an amazing, I don't know which one you picked, but it's amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. All the other tables are going to have lots of terrain too. It's just we're not going to have a table with a giant river down the middle. That's all. We're not doing it to help Keith. It's more about, because as Keith just pointed out, that's actually hurting him because he was using that as a positive thing by making the foot sloggers crawl through that river while his Drake hunts are flying over it. So anything we can do to hurt the Bourbon King, we're trying to even the score, handicap it a little bit.
I think so.
With Jeff, it's a good list. It's what he's played, and I expect him to do well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's jump over. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying solid. Like you said, I will not be. He'll do well just like he does at every event he plays at.
So next up, we got a gentleman, Jason Black. He is from Michigan, and by the way, not all the lists are here because there's a few people that don't know how to read and don't know how to give me a PDF file. So they gave me like screenshots. So Dylan Scribner, I'm going to call you out. You're not in here because I'm not going to waste my time open up Paint to show you like the crayon sketch that you gave me. But this is Jason Black. He is out of the southeastern Michigan portion. I met him last year at Michigan GT. He's rocking halflings. He's got a brand new army. I'm really excited to see it come down here and play with us. And so be interested. I don't get to play against halflings very much. So, I'll walk through it, but definitely chime in here. We got 2 hordes of Braves. We got an Edge Grenadier regiment. I'm a big fan of those guys with the unit strength too.
Brutal D3 is awesome. They're flying. They are great as just a flying chaff unit. At 105 points, they're a speed 10 chaff unit. But the fact that they also can throw in D3 brutal, especially if we start to see more higher defense as a meta choice.
Well, there is a high defense army coming up. I think he's got
so brutal
7 defense 6 units.
Yeah, brutal don't care about your defense, right? So I think that they're just an all around great unit.
Yeah, he's got some wild lancers, a horde of them. That's a big ass unit with the Helm of Confidence, which is interesting. And then Wild Runners, he's got 2 regiments there with the black powder weapons. Should be interesting. And then you got the required aeronauts regiment, and then a volley gun, a harvester, an Iron Beast Titan, and a sorcerer hero with the Sacred Horn to get that extra range on the auras. He's got the Caterwaller and the Mustard Captain on.
This is like a smorgasbord.
I like it. It's kind of
a little bit
it's like a little bit of come all takers list. So
it's like a buffet. He went to the halfling buffet.
He's not. I don't think Jason's a hardcore guy. He just likes to play what he likes. He's like me. He just wants to play what he wants to play. Sometimes it's siege breakers, right? And other times it's maybe a little bit less stuff that's not quite as.
And I still feel like halflings is a little bit of a wild card army. I think that when it came out, since Mantic had done so many great models for it, there wasn't an equivalent for people to start playing right away. So people have been building and painting their Mantic halfling armies over the last year or so. So I don't think we've really seen. I'm still curious to see. Is there a high competing list in there? Start seeing them played more in events.
Right.
So
what's interesting is he has the same unit strength as Jeff, but he only has 13 drops.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting, right? All right. Next up, we got our famous teenager. We got Jackson Blakemore. Out of the Nashville area. I think he actually lives in Chapel Hill, if I recall correctly. And he is bringing Order of the Brother Mark.
Oh, nice.
And, right now, we have an even number, so I don't get to play. But if I get to play, and I get to play Jackson, this is one of the most fun games you can have because you can talk shit to this kid, and he will talk it right back to you, and he won't cry, Jeremy. He doesn't cry.
Okay, so, then that's good. You got that going for you.
I got that going for me. So that's a start.
That still haunts my dreams.
I would imagine. Jackson's got to be 15 now or 16. He's getting.
Has he played Basileia in the past?
He has mostly played Basileia.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And I think we'll probably see that most of this is very similar to Basileia.
Yeah.
But so he's got. Oh, he's already there. He's already there. So starting with a horde of men-at-arms spearmen with hammer of measured force. You know what?
I was controversial. The Elliot Morris controversial.
Yeah, I was on the fence with this unit. Then I played it for a little while. I'm kind of the opinion now that I don't need it. I just
Two things can be true at the same time, and I think there is logic in both the people who explain why they take this, and also the other side of why not to take it. Yes, I am a tormentor of the poor little babies. I just feel like Hey, Billy, I got to show you what happens when you get rear charged by Soul Reaver Cav. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. But yeah, so he's starting with the Horde of Men-at-Arms. He's got 2 regiments of the Paladin Monster Slayers.
Which are great.
He's got a regiment of the Oathsworn Guardians. He's got a Phoenix Titan, which is awesome. So the Ancient Phoenix, which has got all the great stuff, right? He's got a Priest that's mounted with Shard of the Saint, which is great. So what's that give him? Heal 7? Is that right?
Heal 5.
It's heal 5. That already incorporates
it in the
gotcha.
The kit already.
By the way, I love Companion because it puts all the stats in there. You don't have to do the math. It just gives it to you.
Oh yeah, man.
Then he's got High Chaplain Augustus and the formation, the Defenders of the Righteousness. So cavalry, 2 cavalry regiments. So interesting. So you are a connoisseur of Brother Mark Basilean armies. What do you think there?
I mean, it's the kind of army that, you punch someone and you hope to punch through, and then you turn sideways and roll them up.
I did go to the second page. By the way, he also has a dragon.
Yeah, that's part of the
formation. So that's interesting. He also has 21 unit strength. Is there a thing here? 21, 21, 21. But we're going down. We're all the way down to 10 drops. So I'm hoping somebody with the Scrying Gem doesn't play.
Yeah. It's just fun to look at these lists and talk about like things that you're passionate about, right? This is such like you say, is a chord after my own heart, but it runs into the problem when you have a lot of 15, 17 defense 5 units. When you play against
Righteous, I said Righteous. Who said Righteous? Was he talking? So Keith's saying that we didn't say Righteous right. Did you say it Righteous differently? I always say it Righteous.
Righteous is how you pronounce it. How would you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Maybe he just likes.
To be fair, I'm not gonna. We're not gonna take pronunciation from a Southerner. So,
I just think if you play against heavy shooting, what heavy shooting wants to see is really important defense 5, 15, 17 units. That's what they want to shoot at, right?
Yeah.
And that's the issue with this list, that if you get stuck or you have a bad nerve roll or someone picks off a couple units early with shooting, it's an elite army, right? So it both has
10 drops. It's super elite. Yeah.
It has has the benefits and drawbacks of playing that style.
It's interesting because we only have 2,010 points. So, it is interesting.
Which makes playing this type of list even harder, because if you had an extra points, you could put in that horde of infantry. You could put in that a little to help, like
little buffer
to help help smooth out the edges a little bit.
So next up, we've got our favorite dice demon, Devlin Smith. He's rocking Sylvankin. He's got a horde of Forest Guard. He's got 3 regiments of Glade Stalkers, as you do. He's got Hunters of the Wild regiments with Pipes of Terror. Oh, I should mention, one of these has Orb of Towering Presence, which is interesting. I guess that lets him shoot over people, right? So
yes, it gives cool. You can see.
But I mean, you have to take cover, though, if you're shooting over somebody, right?
I would
assume. Well, I guess it depends on who you're shooting. Or
Retiring Presence. Yes.
All right, so then he's got Hunters of the Wild with Pipes of Terror regiment. He's got... Oh, wait, you're right.
Yeah, it's the extra unit strength one. That's what I was thinking.
What? Yeah. I was thinking a Periscope. I'm getting...
Yeah, the edge Periscope is what you're thinking about.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense to me, because the Periscope can only go on an individual anyways. So, it's funny, though, Billy, you say that he manages to lose his entire army every game. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It can't always be the dice, can it?
No.
So he's also got a horde of air elementals. He's got 2 greater air elementals. He's got a master hunter with the scythe of the harvester, which is interesting.
Oh,
got a little bit of shooting here. He's got the war dancer. He's got the forest warden with the trickster's wand, which gives him hex, which is pretty good. Surge. I mean that. So Keith brings up a good point. So that's kind of what happened against this list, which was similar to what I played when I played Kingdoms of Men at King of Monsters against this list. I mean, I just knew I was going to take... He was going to take some units off, but I just pushed everything forward. I had 2 giants. I had fanatics. And I just ran at him. Yeah.
Devlin's list? Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I ran at him. And now, to be fair, he killed me we killed each other to almost like we almost tabled each other. I think I had like 3 units left, and he had like 1 unit left by the time we were done. But to Keith's point, if you have an army like, I don't know, let's say elves that have Dracons or something that has that long range charge, if he had that, right? If he had that in his list, it kind of is a defensive thing that can kind of run out and charge something and lock something up to allow his gun batteries to keep going. But it'll be interesting. I mean, he's a good player, so definitely interesting. And lots of terrain. I mean, we have, the terrain, the number of pieces isn't necessarily more, but some of the pieces, Nathan loves my table with the big farm. There's like a big field with like lettuce, and it's big. It's like 12 inches by 12 inches. And I think he got on a table once, and he was just slogging through it. So,
I still think, we joke about it sometimes, and this is maybe a mild version of it, but I still call it like the one bad day list. Like Devlin's bringing his nice EOD to all these tournaments and all these events, and it's like finally someone touches him the wrong way, and then he's like, "Screw you all! I'm gonna bring the cheese." So this to me still is like packed full of lots of juicy.
It's interesting because so we call it the Jeff O'Neill factor, because back in the day when I first met Jeff, he was playing like, I don't want to call it wasn't balanced, but it was not Goblin Gunline. And he shot him off the table. And then the next event, here comes the goblins with all the shooting. So, and he hasn't looked back. So
yeah, sometimes you do need to bring
it's all your fault, Keith.
Yeah, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? And whether or not that's not just against shooting armies, but just whatever the meta is. Right. If there's something in your meta that you have to figure out how to deal with, otherwise you're just going to get smoked every game. I mean, that's a part of
exactly. I should mention he's got more unit strength than the 3 armies that we've already looked at 23, and he's got 11 units. So he's got to be careful, because I mean, that's 11 units is not a lot of drops,
and it's a lot of defense. It's a lot of low defense units too, right? Real fragile drops.
Yeah,
too.
I mean his unit strength. His unit strength is tied up in a few big units, right? In the Gladestalkers, right? Because the Gladestalkers was 10, almost, well, not quite half, but just under half of his unit strength is from those 3 units. So, all right, let's keep rolling. This is David Goodman and Forces of the Abyss. He's got
the 2 regiments down to Memphis. That's cool.
Yeah, I see. So those who don't know, we have a hobby score where it's a third for paint and it's 30 points. 10 points is worth for paint, 10 points for like modeling, and then 10 points for theme. And so like you get points if you have a background story, if your army has a name. So this is all kind of the stuff that even though if you kick butt on the table, you're probably still going to win the event. There is a incentive to bring thematic armies, right? You may not win the event, but we're gonna reward you, incentivize. It's not a huge reward. I mean, you get a few more points, but this is the kind of stuff I love. Cool. So we got 2 Abyssal Ghoul regiments. We've got 3 troops of gargoyles. We got 2 Moloch hordes, one with Jesse's boots and one with Dwarven Ale. We have a regiment of Abyssal horsemen with Blessing of the Gods. And we've got Tortured Souls Swarm. We got a regiment and a horde. And the horde have Helm of the Drunken Ram, which is pretty cool. So, because normally they're Crushing 1, Thunder 1. So now they'd be Crushing 1, Thunder 2. Is that right?
The Helm of Drunken Ram is an extra TC.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I love it on my Kingdom of Men Knights. I just,
it's a great effective for cheap. A unit that has speed that's going to get the charge off.
Yeah,
it's like
the problem is if you have to do hindered. Yeah, it doesn't always work. But
it's not all. Yeah, it's not exactly.
Abyssal Fiend, right? Which is not a bad choice. And the Seductress with Ho Shadow Beast, and then Matsibusu. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Mountibusu.
Mountibusu. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the Brutal D3. I mean, that's the original Brutal D3, and that's
the OG.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
So the Seductress is good. That's probably the best choice outside of the Flying Pharaoh.
I like the Seductress. I mean,
Ho Shadow Beast.
She's got Ho Shadow Beast, but I've seen her taken with is it the Gnome Shield you can take?
That's the other.
It's pretty.
Yeah, that's another good option for that item.
He's got 22 unit strength, right? So 1 off of the max so far, which was 23, and 13 drops. So I think he's kind of in the middle. Well, we'll see by the end of this, but he seems to be kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. The Well of Souls is so good. It's hard for me to not want that in any.
Well, I will say David's a painter. He likes. I I mean, he wants to be competitive, but I imagine that some of these choices are because
dope
that's what
models he wants to
build.
bring.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
All right, let's get to our aforementioned buddy Daniel Bryan, who's bringing Empire of Dust. And
Mummy
by the
troops,
way,
Adam Ballard's got to sit down. He can't stand up because he just went from 6 to midnight looking at these mummy troops.
So we got a horde of skeleton spearmen with the hammer of measured force. He's got 3 troops of mummies. Now the question is, does he have the guy that gives the benefits to the mummies? Because that would be awesome. He's got a horde of enslaved guardian archers. He's got a horde of enslaved guardians. He's got a regiment of revenant cav. He's got the soul snare. I love the soul snare. Dude.
So good.
I hate playing against it, but I love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then he's got the undead worm. Then he's got
super
the
good
Eminent Pharaoh, right, which is pretty good. He's got a revenant champion. That seems like I mean, I guess not. I mean, he's defense 5, so just wondering in my head, like, would you rather just have somebody? I mean, he's got surge 5, but would you rather just save some points maybe and take a spellcaster? I don't know.
Oh, what he's really good is that he with 4 attacks on 4s with crushing 1. The revenant, you can use him as like a sit you down character.
Force model, shut down a unit.
Yeah,
so but he's not really mounted, which is kind of the thing, right? He's not mounted.
Yeah, I probably would have mounted him just so he could go and put down flyers or other stuff. But
yeah, and then we've got Ammonite Pharaoh on Royal Chariot, right? With Rosy Undying. Love that choice. What does he have? So these guys,
the spearmen with hammer. He wants to make sure they hit.
So these guys
3s.
will be hitting on 3s, right? Which is pretty good.
Ideally, yeah.
3s with hammer of measured force.
3s into 4s on 30 attacks is pretty good.
That's pretty good. I have been on the defense 5. I have been on the negative end of that, So now what's interesting? 17 unit strength and 12 drops. So not the lowest amount of drops, baby. But EOD. I mean, it doesn't. He has a lot of expensive 1 unit strength units.
Yeah, when you take like the soul snare or you take that guy on a pharaoh, it's expensive, and he's got all those mummy troops too, right? Which is lower unit strength. All
right, well, let's talk about the Dino King because he's not the Goblin King. We already talked about the Goblin King. So now we've got 4 hordes in a regiment. Then you've got the regiment of Mincer Mob, which I love the Mincer Mob. It's really good. I like it. It's a little slow, but it's a nice little unit for the goblins. Then he's got his 3 war trombones. Then he's got 2 more mincers by themselves, which I like at the dash 11. That's pretty sweet. And I mean, the big shield is the big thing, right? Like you can stick it into the right stuff. They'll just bounce. Right, if unless they have a lot of crushing strength. Then he's got 3 wingets, all with bombs away, and he's got a Grony Snark. I want to run a tournament one time with the Highlander rule, which means for legendary characters, only 1 person can bring them, and whoever turns me in their list first gets.
That would be really cool.
I want to do that. I want to do that at some point.
Way to get people to turn in their lists, right?
Exactly. And then we got a Bang It Hero. And then we got Magua Joes and King on Chariot, which I just finished painting a King on Chariot. So
that always reminds me of Shannon Shoemaker, the Goblin King on the Chariot. Yeah.
So look at him though; he's got 22 unit strength and 18 drops. So you need to pump up them rookie numbers, man. Jeff had 21 drops. But not a bad list.
No, I mean, and a great player and one that's pretty well known as a top end Goblin player.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Chris Bowen playing regular elves. So that probably makes him the second best elf player there. I don't know who else is playing elves besides Keith, but we've got 3 regiments of Glade Stalkers. And look at that. He's got the Scrying Gem. It's almost like he knows that people like Devlin and some of these other armies that only have, 10, 11, 12 units, right? I don't know that that's a thing of our meta locally, but, and then he's got 3 troops of Silver Breeze. That'll make Adam swoon a little bit. And a horde of Dracon Riders with Brew's Sharpness. That's a nasty unit. That's the
terrifying.
Unit so it's so expensive. That's the unit that I'm just. I mean, if it's Jeff, just target that. Just
like playing against Michael Jordan. Let anyone else beat you, but don't let that unit beat you.
Yeah, you're just gonna hammer him with all the artillery.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's probably got the stealthy spell down below, I would assume. Elven Mage, mounted on a horse with Alchemist Curse. He's got Argus Rodinar, and then he's got the formation. So, which is the Swirling Tempest, Dracon Riders. I mean, it's the stock standard stuff, right? The two regiments and the hero, and they gave the hero the Trickster's Wand,
which is so good. I think that's such a great tech piece.
Jason Burr's throwing down. I mean, technically, Jason Keith won the event last year with elves. He's bringing elves again, so I mean, he's the king till you knock him off.
Does he even have another army? That's why I'm just so disappointed.
No. And I bet you, like, if he has another army, he's just going to play him as elves.
Keith,
like, oh, they're naiads, but they're fine. They're fine. They're elves.
I'm not mad, Keith. I'm just disappointed.
So yeah, in terms of unit strength, he's got 20 and he's got 12 drops. So like I said, the 2010 points. That's an interesting number. It's low enough that I think you got to have some compromises. I mean, the most unit strength we've seen so far is 23. And we've ranged from like 10 to 21 drops.
I mean, 11 to 14 for most combined armies at 2K is what sounds about right to me. You know what I mean? But it's just tough at the.
So I guess we should read into this since you don't play them. There's probably something to be said with that comment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next one. We got Brian Trahan, who was supposed to play Varniger, and he punked out. And it's like, oh, I can't play it at this points level. Like, well, bro, step up your game. Get good. Okay. So he's back to the crutch. And he is playing Abyssal Dwarfs. He's got his blood. And by the way, Brian's a very good Abyssal Dwarf player. So I talk a lot of shit, but he's a good player. So Black Souls Infantry with the Brewer's Sharpness. I don't know. He's got to have some kind of Bane Chant in here then, because I mean, like with my mind, with no crushing strength, just hitting a bunch of 25 attacks on 2s. I mean, I guess just counting on lots of 6s or something. I don't know. Seems like a lot of points, but let's get to it. 2 troops of Immortal Guard Infantry, both with throwing massives. You got the Decimator Horde with Blessing of the Gods. Love that unit. The way he plays it backline, and he basically, like, if anything gets behind him or anything gets through his line, they're there to clean it up.
And they hit on force, so if they have to fight in combat with elite,
correct. And he's got Blessing of the Gods that works both in shooting.
Yeah, that's like a good item for that unit, I think.
Absolutely. And the vicious range, man. The piercing 1, it can.
Elite and piercing at range is very good.
He's got 3 mutated Mastiff hunting packs. And then greater
mutated dogs throwing dogs.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Kyle's not really Southeast. Like he's mid-Atlantic trash meta guy who just he kind of came down. But you're right. I think he's even become tainted, by the stench. Let's see here. Yeah, Night Stalkers. I mean, there's definitely a good reason to play Night Stalkers in our area.
You have to take what you need to take to compete. It's no fun to go to a tournament knowing you're just going to get SHIT stomped.
Yeah. He does have the Greater Obsidian Golem, and then he's got a Ironcaster. He does have Bane Chant, Surge, and Veil of Shadows. So that's interesting. That's an expensive dude. Oh, Kyle is trash. Well, Kyle is trash meta, but yes. I'll let you can actually the problem with Kyle is he would just take that as a compliment. He's got a Hexcaster with the Periscope.
My most hated unit in the game. I hate that thing, man.
It sucks.
It is so annoying.
It sucks.
So annoying.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like it's hard to kill, right? That's the hard part. If he wasn't defense 5, come on, man.
That thing always is so annoying.
All right, so then we got the formation. He's got the Damn Jaeger formation, which is the 2 Immortal Guard regiments and the Infernox. I play against this shit all the time. It is what it is, dude. Like you got the elite bubble. It's nice. The good thing is the negative for him is these defense 4 guys love to get shot. Now they do have the regen, but if you could just take them off, and we've seen some armies that look like they probably could. So, and I guess that's probably why he brought the Veil of Shadows, because he does have very juicy targets to be shot. So, we'll keep rolling. Next time we have Chase Thompson out of Southern Mississippi. he is bringing the herd. Now, I've not looked at this list, but he's got a troop of spirit walkers. Okay. I thought you had to take him as a horde, but okay. He's got a troop of longhorns, a troop of harpies. Interesting. 2 hordes of guardian brutes. He's got a regiment of centaur braced striders, a regiment of scorch wings, 2 hydras. Okay. I like the choice. Like, this is how you get the theme points, right? Like, he's definitely got like a monster. I don't know. There's definitely some. He is not taking a bunch of. Even like the scorch wings. He's just, he's got a little bit of everything. He's got the Avatar of the Father. He's got. I don't know much about this formation, but the Soft Hoofs, Herdkin, Tribal Trappers, two regiments of those, and the hero.
All I'm going to say is it takes a brave man to take this type of army to a southeast event, and I'm not that brave man. To be fair
to Chase, he's been to a lot of my events. He knows there's going to be we're not going to have CDs footprints that are the forest. Like, you're going to have on most tables, you're going to have a reasonable amount of terrain, right? So if you use it wisely, you'll be okay. But to your point, when you saw Jeff O'Neill's list, it doesn't matter if there's a place, there's just so much shooting that once you do poke your head out, you die. So
and you hope to try to mitigate that, at least with a little bit of defense 5 in there. But when your whole army's almost all defense 4 or less, that's a tough,
the Hydra is an interesting choice. I'll be interested to talk to him about why he chose them. And I actually like Guardian Brutes. I'm probably not a good player, but they're the defense 4. But I just a horde of owl bears calls for me.
Well, with your love of tyrants, it makes sense to me that you'd also like Guardian Brutes, as being kind of like a hits on a big, mass.
No, you're right.
There's
a significant similarity in the sense that they're crushing 1 Thunder 1, but they still have the 30 attacks hitting on.
And they're defense 4 too, right? The tyrants.
They're defense 4 too. Yeah. So you're right. And the brutal, which is nice. So good list. Let's have a little unit strength here. So he's got 21. So he's at near the top, and he's got 13 drops. Let's keep rolling. Next we got Mark Burr. He is out of Central Arkansas. By the way, we have 9. Well, we had. I haven't checked it since we had a few drops, but we had players from 9 states coming. I think we're maybe down to 8 states now, because I think one of the players from North Carolina, I think, is not coming. So, anyways, he's got a horde of Naiad and Snares with the Frenzied Otter, which I don't even know what that does. Maybe somebody in the chat will tell us what that does. Okay, so somebody else thinks that the Hydras are good. So, let us know.
Well, I know before Jeff Swan took his break, he was using Hydras in some of his lists, and he usually is a pretty good player for identifying those under the radar type units. So, I know a few people who are good at identifying unseen good things that they like that unit.
Right. So anyways, horde of Naiad and Snares, 2 hordes of fire elementals, a horde of air elementals. Now, all he needs for the trifecta is the greater, the earth elementals, right? That's all he needs. Then he can have all of them. And then a regiment of Scorch Wings, 2 greater air elementals, a Pegasus, Glade Walker Druid hero. You got to take him. Honestly, you got to take him. He's pretty good with the Ring of Harmony and the Crown of the Wizard. So, and then a unicorn. So he is at 21 unit strength, 11 drops though. 11
that's drops. on the shallow end, right? Of that.
I think 10 was the lowest we've seen so far. Yeah. So Mark's another guy though that Mark just likes to play the game. He has a good time. And what's interesting is, even though you might say this is not an optimized list, he's got some tools in here. Like, he can do some stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, next up, let's jump over to John Green Jr. Don't know if this is the same list. He's been smashing people up in the Texas scene, but he's got 3 regiments of Abyssal Ghouls,
all good
horde of Molochs with the boots of striding, which is
very good.
Move.
Yeah.
3 regiments of Tortured Souls, and Abyssal Fiend.
Yes.
The Well of Souls, and 2 Archfiends. Now look at this: 19 unit strength, but only 11 drops.
But definitely,
and we're going to talk about why. this tournament is a lot different, right? And we'll talk about that at the end if we have a little time. But yeah, it's interesting because
this is definitely a little bit more of a refined focus list,
exactly.
Which is not surprising coming from John, right? That this is like a very strong. I think Abyssals are always good.
They're very good. We got a couple of Abyssal players coming.
It's always one of those like best armies.
Do we even need to look at this list? We already know what's in it, right?
Okay. Oh no, continue. Read it out.
Yeah, you got the 2 Glade Stalker regiments.
Bullshit.
You got 2 troops of Silver Bees.
Bullshit.
2 hordes, right? And you've got 1 with Striding and 1 with Crushing, which I guess you just had extra.
Nerf them, points. Lame.
Yeah. Then you've got Elven Archmage Hero, mounted on a horse with Alchemist Curse. He's got Nimue, the Way Dancer, which is a good unit. And then he's got, the formation
that gives Nimble to the,
And he's got 19 unit strength and 11 drops. So interesting stuff. What's
the most annoying part of that list, real quick?
What's that?
Is that the spellcaster on the horse with Alchemist Curse, who can move at the double, and that thing is just so.
Yeah, that's a Kyle Pool special. Kyle's been abusing me with that for a bit.
Vicious.
So anyway, we got John Blakemore. That's Jackson's dad. Let's just call it the Defense 6 list. So he's got 3 regiments of Iron Guard, right? With throwing mastiffs. He's got 3 hordes of Earth Elementals. He's got a Steel Behemoth. Are you seeing a trend? So I guess this is a theme too, if it's all Defense 6. He's got Garrick Heavy Hand, Faber Ironheart. Literally everything in the list is Defense 6. Now, 21 unit strength is respectable, but 10 drops. So you're going to have a hard time to cover that whole board.
Yeah. Right? This is going to be a tough to play scenario with
well,
few drops.
Let's get into our favorite Night Stalker player. Nathan, no offense to Adam, but he never comes to my events. So Nathan Clevenger. So he's got 2 Bloodworm Legions. This guy's he's been rocking these since like 2020.
And they're great. I mean, they're just great units.
Hammer Measured Force. Now that's a unit I can get behind, right? I know you hit on force, but when you got 40 attacks,
40 attacks is the key
exactly.
there, right?
And then Meat of Madness on the other, which is great to give him a little extra range on the charge.
Just get them where you want to get them. Yeah.
Yep. And then Phantoms. He's got 2 troops of those. He's got 2 hordes of Butchers. He's got a regiment of the Shadowhounds. He's got a Planar Apparition for the last time, right? Because it'll be now a upgrade to the Mind Screech. And then he's got 2 Mind Screeches. So really, this list might be close to. Well, the points will be different though. So, well, that's true, right? But he's not playing with any of the nerfs yet because this is the old list. But Mind Screech, and then the horror with all kinds of great. The vicious thing is pretty good. So he's got 24 unit strength.
Oh,
so it feels like does it make sense that he's Jeff's main sparring partner?
No. Because he has massive amounts of unit strength with stealthy to play against.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then 11. So we'll keep
and you know next. What? I mean, Nathan, he's a great player, right? All those guys are all great. So don't let him hide out in anyone else's shadow. Nathan is the top player in the country.
We're getting towards the end here. We'll breeze through a few more of these in the next top. We'll try to wrap this up at the top of the hour.
Sure.
We've got Will Peak, who is a local player. He is not a full-time Kings of War player. He plays lots of other games, so keep that in mind.
Another great name for the army.
Yeah, Lizards of Waverly Place. I like it. Yeah. So Salamander Primes. He's got 2 hordes. Fire Elementals. He's got a horde of those. He's got a horde of Tyrants. He's got a regiment and a horde of Scorch Wings. And notice, I like it when you take Boys Before Toys, right? Like, so you got lots of units and you don't have as many magical artifacts. It should mean more unit strength and more units. So. Then he's got a Rhino Cav horde and Greater Fire Elemental, right? Which is nice with the benefits there. He's got Lakilodon, a Mage Priest with Surge 8. That's an interesting choice, but I guess he's got the Fire Elemental and the Greater, right? That you can Surge.
Yeah.
And then he's got a Herald Hero. That's interesting. Now we should also mention that there's a free Bard character that you get, and I'll flash those up here in a little bit. But there's some people might might feel like, oh, you don't have a lot of unit strength, or you don't have a lot of inspiring. Well, there's some other stuff, other spell casting that this bard can do. And then we've got Gekatoa, Skylord, which is great. I don't think he has any magical artifacts at all on the list. So,
going super, just getting as many bodies as possible.
25 unit strength and 12 drops. Yeah, solid stuff. Then we got our local Empire Dust Punching Bag, Matt Wiseman. Pretty army, though. Enslaved Guardians, Horde, Revenant Cavalry Regiment, Sandborn Worm Riders. That takes some Gahoys to rock those guys. And he runs them as a regiment.
You've sent me pictures of this army too, haven't you, Rob?
Yeah, it won best painted at King of Monsters. Yeah, it's pretty. It's got like an emerald green and bone color. It's really nice.
Nicely painted army. Yeah,
it's mostly Mantic. There's a couple things that Mantic doesn't make. He's got other stuff filled in for. But yeah, 2 scavenger swarms, and then God bless the boy. He's got 3 revenant chariots, 3 regiments of revenant chariots. One with striding boots. And he's got the bows, and then he's got Soul Snare, the Monolith, Revenant Champion on horse, and the Ammonite Pharaoh with Veil of Shadows and Roz the Undying.
Expensive.
That's interesting. That's expensive. Wondering, well, what does he have that can take advantage of? He doesn't have anybody that can take advantage of using his unit strength or his armor, his melee value, right?
I mean, if he attacks,
but he's by himself. I mean, he's a good unit on his own.
But I mean, if you get chariots into a flank or something,
sure, the chariots can take advantage of it.
Yeah,
sure,
the chariot. I imagine that's units going to be running around with the chariots. I would think.
Yeah, he's got 3 regiments. Yeah,
because that's 24 attacks in the flank on 3s with
exactly.
That's not a small amount of damage.
Oh, and then I didn't go to the next page. He's got
reanimated behemoth. This is my girlfriend right now, man. The reanimated behemoth. I love this.
So he's got 19 unit strength and 13 drops. Then we got our buddy Travis. So Travis has got Riftforged Orcs, and he's got a horde of Legionnaires with Pipes of Terror, and then he's got another horde just naked. Tundra Wolves, Helm of the Drunken Ram. Love that choice. He's got 2 hordes of Hellstrikers. And now part of it might be that he's made an army because he's using Billy's army because he couldn't get his painted. So there may be a reason why these might not be all Travis choices, is my point. Then he's got 3 Orkling regiments. Now that's totally Travis. And then he's got 3 Ambrox, Rift Forger, which are great with Whole Shadow Beast, and then the Stormbringer on Hellstrike. So 24. Is that the most? No. Will had 25. This is the second most unit strength.
Scroll up to the Ambroxes, and there's something about these guys that makes them so good. I think they have unit strength, so it's like a steady.
Well, they're a monster. They're like a Lakilodon or a Commodon, right? Like war engine.
For 115 points, I think they let you shoot and play the scenario. They're just, I think, a really underrated unit in that army.
No, what Billy gets is if this thing was to win, it can't win because Travis didn't paint it, so yeah.
And is this his like metal, his metal orcs?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a cool army.
Okay, so Billy chimed in here. The only thing he didn't have was the Tundra Wolves. So cool. All right, we got Nate. We're running low on time here, so we're gonna be quick. We got Nate Johnson. He's also from the Southeast Michigan part. He's got 2 clans. By the way, his theme is cool. It's like they're in a bar and they're fighting and they're like standing on tables and swinging mugs of beer and stuff. It's pretty cool. So he's got 2 regiments of Dwarf Klansmen. He's got an Elf Klansman troop. He's got Pack Hunters. So what? These are Northern. Oh, so these are Northern Alliance. Gotcha. 2 Snow Troll hordes. One with Crystal Pendant of Retribution. That's interesting because that's a unit that would be hard to kill. And so when you finally get it, your reward is the Crystal Pendant.
Explosions.
Exactly. Then he's got Dwarven Ale on the other. He's got 3 Cavern Dwellers, and then he's got 3 Thanes on Frostfangs, which is pretty sweet. He's got 20 unit strength and 12 drops. Then we got Taylor Gwilliam, who was our Abyssal Dwarf guy. Now he's moved on to Night Stalkers. He's a big fan of Bloodworms and Doppelgangers, so that's what you're going to see. So Doppelgangers got 2 regiments, got a Legion of Bloodworms, 2 regiments of Reapers, 1 with Blessing of the Gods, 1 Phantom Troop, 2 Hordes of Butchers, a Planner Apparition, the Shadow Hulk, best giant in the game, and the Horror, which is great too. That vicious aura is just so darn good. And he's got new king here. We got 26 unit strength, but only 11 drops. So Hopefully he doesn't get to play Bowen with his scrying gem. Then we got Nick Gunther, Nick G. He's got shooters. I haven't seen shooters in a list in a while.
That's old school. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Then he's got hunters with Brew of Haste. Nice. 3 regiments. Those are the 3 you need to get the unlocks, right? And then 1 horde with 2-handed weapons, a horde of siege breakers, 3 bullies, 2 warlock with lightning bolt, and then Kuzla. The only thing, I guess, the 2010 points, there's not enough points to get a mammoth in here. I like the mammoth in combination with this guy, with Kuzla. Yeah. But 23 unit strength, pretty solid for a very durable amount of units.
Seems like a straight up solid, just what you got.
Punch you right in the face.
Yeah, do a little shoot, do a little punch,
He's got enough stuff. And then we round out the lists with Night Stalkers. We've got Larry Essick, and he's got his doppelgangers, 4 regiments. Bloodworm. Yeah, Bloodworm with same as Nathan. 3 troops of Reapers, 3 troops of Phantoms. He's got a Shade with a Staying Stone, 2 horrors, both with Bane Chant and the special character. Shakira.
Yeah.
So nice. He's got 23 unit strength and 15. So with that, guys, that is all the lists. Final thoughts, Jeremy. Who's your pick?
Nice variety of armies. Some really interesting stuff in there. I don't know. I guess I imagine it's Jeff, Keith, Travis.
It's
Kyle.
All the normal names you would normally pick.
I think the top 5 are going to be the names that you would expect to see there. Absolutely. But you never know. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a sequel to this maybe tonight because I know we're short on time. But well, I'm sure you gave me your list, but if it wasn't a PDF, I didn't include it. But let's go see. Let's see what Billy.
Yeah, what is Billy taking?
It is
besides a beautifully manicured beard and
it's ogres, right?
Okay.
Let's see, countercharge.
Oh yeah, because he has been working on his sort of purple, cool colored ogres, I think, right?
Oh, I don't know why I didn't open Billy. That's weird. I have a couple more that I didn't actually open. So I've got Billy. Sorry, let me share him again. So all right, so Billy, real quick, we've got. We got 2 regiments of warriors, 3 hordes of siege breakers. I'm giving you the nod. That's a good. I like those selections. A boomer chariot that gives them the stealthy bubble. The mammoth, boomer sergeant, nice pick, cool model. Berserker bully and 3 warlocks, and he's got 20 unit strength and 12 drops. And I actually noticed there was 1 more that we didn't bring in, which is another. I'm going to call him a dark horse because you just never know. Let me go with Andy Patton here. EOD, he's got 2 hordes of the Spearmen. He's got 1 with Casket of the Dam, 1 with Hammer of Measured Force. He's got Deadeye Crossbows. He loves these guys. And then he's got 1 with Piercing Arrow, 1 with Chant of Hate. Then he's got a regiment of Scavengers with the Scrying Gem. He's got the Monolith. He's got the Ammonite Pharaoh with Wings of Honey May, Shadow Beast, the normal stuff, right? Can't stand that guy.
That's interesting that he has the extra surge item casket on the unit that he has the Dragon Shard shield, so he can keep them stationary, pop the shield, and then just dump surge into them. That's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. We'll see. He thinks he thinks he's got a legit chance, so we'll see how he does. But this will be his first real competition. I
want to see Devlin and Billy fight each other with super cheesy armies that they're bringing and give each other horrible sports scores. That's what I want.
And somebody starts throwing dice.
I want to see the most vicious try-hard game ever between Billy and Devlin. That's my dream.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, that was a real quick rundown of the army list. We'll try to do a second one here shortly, going over the rules, the bard stuff, just so you get a little context. But thanks for joining us. Jeremy, you want to take us out?
Hope everyone has a great time. And to remember, always keep counter charging.